All right, welcome back to the channel. Terence Crawford's next opponent might be, guess who? Egis Kavaliauskus. I know I'm mispronouncing his name, but he is more affectionately known by many people as Green Beans. Seriously, there may be a rematch between Terence Crawford and Egis Kavaliauskus. Let's talk about that in this video. All right. Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back. Thank you guys so much for coming to watch the video. Terence Bud Crawford, my former #1 pound for pound fighter in the world. He is no longer that because we're having a little bit of a problem getting Terence Crawford into the ring with somebody that I won't say I actually want to see him fight. So I was happy. I won't say happy, but encouraged, kind of encouraged, little bit encouraged when I heard that Terence Crawford will be considering going into conversations. We're entering into negotiations with Kell Brook out of the UK, former IBF champion, the guy that Errol Spence Jr. beat in order to get his IBF title. So when Terence Crawford was going to fight Kell Brook, or at least that was what the rumor was, I was encouraged. I thought that Kell Brook was one of the better guys at 147, if he can still make 147. And by that I mean he was, of all the people that you'd want to see Terence Crawford fight, that Kell Brook was probably at the low end of it, but at least he was on the list. So I take that. However, an offer, according to rumors, an offer of $1.5 million was made to Kell Brook. That seemed a little bit low. And that was a couple weeks ago. And as of right now, we still don't have that fight. So I was paying attention to the Egis Kavaliauskus fight last Saturday. And he was fighting a guy whose name I do not remember anymore. I actually made a video about it, but after Egis Kavaliauskus won the fight, I was like, really doesn't make sense my video, so let me stop. But regardless, Egis Kavaliauskus won but the thing about that fight that was interesting is that both Egis Kavaliauskus and whoever the guy Egis Kavaliauskus fought said that they were looking for a Terence Crawford fight. So, of course, you're like, all right, there you go. There you go. This is some Top Rank. This is promotional stuff. They start telling you and start prepping you in one fight card for the fight card that they think will most likely be coming up next. So with Bob Arum having a lowball offer to Kell Brook of 1.5, and Kell Brook is still, talking like he's encouraging, trying to keep the negotiations going, but I'm not really hearing anything from the Top Rank camp. And Egis Kavaliauskus and these guys are talking like that, and Bud needs to stay busy fight this year, even though, dude, for real, every fight Bud has had at 147 pounds so far has been a stay busy fight. So anyway, when the Egis Kavaliauskus won the fight, then Egis Kavaliauskus came out and said that, Terence Crawford is not beatable, and he's beatable. He also said Terence Crawford doesn't have anybody to fight. There's nobody there for him. So, he might as well fight me. And I think that is most likely the thing that is going to happen. And the reason that I believe that is what's going to happen is because that's just the playbook that I've seen run over and over and over again at different promotional companies. I would say usually it just focuses on Top Rank, but seems like the PBC is getting better at it, by the day. Regardless, that's a fight that it looks like, is the most realistic fight right now because they've got $1.5 million. Egis Kavaliauskus, I do believe, is already in the United States. He's already somebody that he's somebody that dropped Terence Crawford, so they could at least sell the idea that he dropped Terence Crawford. But it's just a really, really bad look, man. And quite honestly, I think that Terrence Bud Crawford would be better off just sitting out the year. Just sit out the year for the pandemic, right? Wait till maybe, you get a little bit down the line, maybe somebody frees up and you take another fight, specifically the Sean Porter fight. But this is what's going to happen if Bud Crawford fights Egis Kavaliauskus. His reputation is just going to it's going to be so hard for him to come back from that. Even if he was able to get a win over Errol Spence Jr. after Errol Spence Jr. beats everybody in the entire world, people would turn around and say, hey, man, Errol Spence Jr. took a lot of beatings doing all the work to get to Terence Crawford while he sat back and fought Egis Kavaliauskus, Amir Khan, Egis Kavaliauskus twice. I mean, Egis Kavaliauskus 1 and Egis Kavaliauskus 2 would just be a nightmare for the narrative that surrounds Terence Crawford. And, and he has an opening now. Seeing as, it appears that it's not always so easy to make fights at the PBC. And since the PBC is so crowded with welterweights, there's an argument for Terence Crawford's, monetary sake, his ability to get fights, that, hey, man, maybe there's a reason why he did stay with Top Rank. So I said that defending Terence Crawford's decision to stay at Top Rank if people over there at the PBC are going to be on foolishness. However, I cannot protect, or you cannot forgive Terence Crawford for his own mouth. And the fact that Terence Crawford was openly saying none of these guys want to fight him over there at the PBC, and then when they start asking for the fights, right? When the Ray Robinson asked for the fight, Mikey Garcia ain't ever asked for no fight, but Sean Porter talks about the fight. Keith Thurman talks about the fight, right? Those guys, when they start, Ugas wants to fight, but when Terence Crawford consistently says, no, I don't want that fight, right? It's like he just ties your hands, and there's really nowhere to go from that. So again, man, Egis Kavaliauskus, if he takes that fight, that's going to be a bad look. Now, then, what should he do? What Terence Crawford should do is Terence Crawford should go on ahead and fight Sean Porter. Just sit the pandemic out. Sean Porter, see if you can get a date, maybe in January or February. Like January, February time frame, and see if you can get the Sean Porter fight, right? Like after all of the PBC stuff clears out. What month are we in? We're in the 9th month, right? So we only got basically 3.5 months left in this year. You can go on into, there's enough time for Terence Crawford. He's got enough money in that bank to let that fight get pushed forward until there's not all this competition with the fights that are coming up between Errol Spence Jr. and Danny Garcia, even not Teofimo Lopez, that's pretty close, but Gervonta Davis, Leo Santa Cruz, all those type of fights that are going to be in that time frame. Also, shoot, you got the Deontay Wilder Tyson Fury fight that could be around that December time frame. So if you just go ahead and push it up, maybe till February, something like that, February, March time frame, and you go straight to Sean Porter, then I think that would be a good look, and there really wouldn't be too much of a problem. But, because at least if you sit it out and you just go straight to him, it'll look like, hey, man, you didn't really have the opponent that you couldn't find a decent opponent, somebody that you really thought was good, kind of like, the problem that you would have like a Gary Russell Jr. has. So, when he can only fight once a year because he has probably fights a mandatory a year because nobody else will get up there and fight him. So he's not going to take voluntaries. He's not taking voluntaries that are just straight up trash fights because, like you said, he wants to be, he wants to show he's the best. So look, man, this is just, Terence Crawford is in such a funny position, man. A lot of people talk about his athleticism and how great a boxer is. But it's all being built, around fights with fighters that nobody ever thinks had a chance to beat him, since pretty much since the Breidis Prescott fight. And again, you're not going to get by that today. You're not going to get by with a Egis Kavaliauskus 2 I can already hear the jokes. I can, oh man, it's just even the last of the hardcore diehard Terence Crawford fans will fall by the wayside. Drink more water will fall by the wayside if you get Egis Kavaliauskus, because you can't say that the PBC fighters are ducking and you lowball Kell Brook. It's got to be somebody better over there, man. Even if you can move somebody up from 147, like from fight Gary Russell Jr. Gary Russell Jr. would be a better fight than Egis Kavaliauskus too, man. That's another thing. Excuse me. I should have said that. Yeah, fight Sean. If you can't get Sean Porter right now and you need a fight in the gap, man, you'd be better off fighting Gary Russell Jr. than doing that stuff. But that's my take. You let me know what y'all think in the comment section. And with that, I'm out. Thank you guys for the support, man. Make sure you guys hit the like, comment, subscribe, share, all the stuff that you're supposed to tell people to do in your calls of actions when you get done with your video. Peace.